Hey, it's Hunt. You found Hunt on Saints. We're talking black and gold football. Do us a favor. Hit the like button, share your comments below, and hit that subscription button so you can get all of our content. Enjoy. Summertime's a good time for grades, huh? You don't have to worry about grades if you're a kid, but if you're an NFL franchise, you got to worry about grades. And Seth Walder was handing them out for ESPN.com. He's part of their analytics department over there at ESPN, and he graded every NFL team's offseason now that's bordering on complete. It's not complete. There's still certainly a lot of signings that will go on, but a lot of the free agency trades, certainly all the draft picks are in the rearview mirror. And so I wanted to see what Walder thought about the New Orleans Saints. You get the sense that most people aren't over the moon thrilled with the New Orleans Saints. What does Seth Walder think? Well, he gives them a D. D is not good. I had a few of those in college. He said the biggest move was drafting offensive tackle Taliesin Fuanga in the first round. Move I liked, signing defensive end Chase Young. Move I disliked, failing to trade veterans. And that is the genesis of this D grade, as he writes in the blog. I'll just kind of go through his thoughts, and then I'll add my color to it on the back end. Said the Saints are addicted to mediocrity, and because of that, they failed to improve their future selves this offseason. I personally think that's on the right track when we're talking about long-term for this team. I'm kind of on the same page as Walder here. This is what he writes. Their salary cap situation is bad. According to roster management, the Saints have $15 million in cap space despite quarterback Derek Carr. Now listen to these names. Derek Carr, Marshawn Lattimore, Cam Jordan, Taysom Hill, Ryan Ramczyk, Demario Davis, Eric McCoy, Tyrann Mathieu, Carl Granderson, all of those guys. That's basically all the most proven veterans on the team. Have a base salary under $1.5 million to keep their 2024 cap hits very low. He continues, that's exactly why the team is $77.6 million over the salary cap in 2025 currently. That is $50 million more than any other team. A team could maybe justify this process if it was in a championship window, but that is not the Saints, he writes. And I'll interject here my thoughts. That's pretty much where we all are. The Saints were geniuses for this process when it was the right thing to do. Now that it's not, it just kind of feels like you're trying to throw punches in a straitjacket. You're confined to this position and you can't get out of it. And that's why things have to change. And I think they have changed a little bit this offseason, but we'll continue on with what he wrote. He said the team ought to be shedding as much salary as it can and converting the low salary players into draft capital via trades to jumpstart a full rebuild. Instead, the Saints are running it back with a 9-8 team led by Derek Carr. The team's big move in free agency was signing Young to a one-year fully guaranteed $13 million deal. That's a move I liked. Young had an above-average pass rush win rate at 19% last year as an edge rusher, and he could be a productive player for New Orleans in 2024, then potentially land them a compensatory pick for signing elsewhere in free agency next year. And because Ramczyk's knee is not recovering, they had to take a tackle at number 14 overall. Okay, that's a lot of words, but it's basically how I feel. And I would push back on they should have been shedding as much salary as in converting low salary players into draft capital. I don't disagree with that sentiment, certainly. But what I will tell you is Dennis Allen would have thrown a fit if that was the case. Because, as we well know, he's only got one more chance. This is it for him. If you throw up all of yourself in Oakland at the time for the Raiders and don't get it done and get fired, okay, well, bad quarterback situation, awful ownership situation, terrible facilities, bad organization, okay, it didn't work. And then you go to New Orleans, which above all else prioritized continuity in the organization, an organization that had had a run of sustained success, and that doesn't work. Well, at this point, you now have proven you can't do it under terrible circumstances, and you can't do it under stable circumstances. Nobody else in the league is going to run that back with Dennis Allen. This is it. So Mickey Loomis going to the table and going, hey, man, we're going to ditch Cam Jordan, Lattimore, Taysom Hill, Demario Davis, and Tyrann Mathieu. We'll recoup, a slew of 5th and 6th rounders, and we'll balance the books a little bit. And we're going to have some dead money as a result of this, so we won't be able to add to the shelves very much. And we'll have a real young team next year that is a little less expensive, and then we'll really move forward after that. Like, Dennis Allen's going to go, so you're going to ask me to go out there and go 4-13 and get fired? That doesn't work. And because of that, I was always fascinated at the dynamics that the Saints organization was going to be working through in this offseason. Dennis Allen's got to go to keep his gig, and the Saints don't have anywhere to go. They need to back up and offload all this stuff, but that would be very detrimental to Dennis Allen's roster. I think they've kind of struck a middle here. And I think in Dennis Allen's mind, if he can get a couple balls to go his way, well, he probably doesn't think this way. This is the way I think. If he can get a couple balls to bounce this way, get a couple turnovers, win 2 games you're not really supposed to, and find a way to go 9-8, then maybe you can stick around for another iteration of this roster reconstruction. But if it goes sideways in the first month, where they've got those really tough first 5 games, maybe that transition starts a little bit more quickly. But I agree in premise with this piece that they didn't completely tear it down to the studs. They were never going to do that. It was not feasible with Dennis Allen there. And the Saints have never shown that they want to do that. And that's why they're $77 million over next year's salary cap. And that's not to suggest, once again, that they won't get under that. They'll get under that with ease. But they're not doing it in a way that compromises teams down the road real significantly the way they're compromised today because they were doing this 2 years ago. So to me, if you want to talk about the execution of everything and expect a huge roster turnover, sure, D's a fair grade because they didn't do that. But I would go closer to B because they didn't do what they always do and open up these salary situations later on in contracts. They've signed a bunch of 1-year deals, and they've kept it fairly between the buoys. They just are in such a situation that writing all of that is just not possible. So that's where they've got the Saints as a D. If you're curious about the rest of the Saints division, he wasn't thrilled with Atlanta either. He gave him a C-. He liked Kirk Cousins prior to drafting Michael Penix. He disliked drafting Penix at 8 under overall, which I don't think anybody really understands. But he wasn't wild about what Atlanta was able to do. With Tampa, your reigning division champion, he gave him a B. Liked the re-signing of Antoine Winfield, re-signing of Mike Evans at a bargain price. Did not like re-signing Baker Mayfield for $40 million guaranteed. I think there are a lot of people that are curious if Baker Mayfield can replicate a really strong performance last year. That kind of remains to be seen. And then Carolina gets a B-. It's hard to go anywhere but up if you're Carolina at this point. Traded edge rusher Brian Burns. I thought that was the biggest move. Liked the move of trading for DeAndre Jackson. Did not like signing Robert Hunt to a $20 million deal. I always like bringing up Robert Hunt's name because my first name's Robert, my middle name is Hunt. And when the commissioner announced this drafting of Robert Hunt, he said, with the whatever selection, the Dolphins select Robert Hunt. That was as close as I'm ever going to get to being drafted. So that's a cool thing for me, but he didn't like it for the Panthers. So that'll be a look at the NFC South, which I don't think anybody thinks is all that great at this point. So they're your offseason grades for all 32 NFL teams right there on ESPN.com. Hey, it's on. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.